Let's do it.
Sounds right.
This is the Trade Show's Unhinged podcast, a podcast from the Facebook group You Know You Work in Trade Shows When. This podcast centers on trade shows, live events, and experiential marketing activations in today's world. Your hosts are Todd and Mike, who is the owner of Showbox Exhibits and the creator of the Facebook group You Know You Work in Trade Shows When, and Mike Morrison, Vice President of Sales for WS Display. The clock is ticking, so let's get busy and get to it, and we'll do just that after this.
Need a presenter? Your Event Audio has you covered. Closed-circuit audio equipment with turnkey operation at your trade show booth, live event, or private event. YourEventAudio.com is the place to go. DJ services, MC talent, and a whole lot more. Check out YourEventAudio.com today.
Showbox Exhibits, headquartered in Houston, Texas, where they specialize in design, fabrication, and management of your trade show displays. At Showbox, the difference starts with listening to fully understand the unique brand story that's needed. Then they create an innovative, compelling concept that reflects specific event objectives. From static trade show displays to fully custom oversized exhibits featuring multimedia graphics, Showbox brings your company's message to the masses. Showbox is a trade show, convention, and environment design agency that is full service from start to finish. They're based in Houston, Texas, but they serve worldwide. They've been creating exhibits for over 20 years. Showbox Exhibits at showboxexhibits.com. Second. Well, good Friday afternoon to everybody out there checking us out here on this October 25th, 2024 edition of Trade Shows Unhinged. I'm Mike Morrison, the Vice President of Sales at WS Display and also co-host of the show. If you're watching us on video, as always, you'll see my co-host there and owner of the Facebook group. Get that right? The Facebook group. You Know You Work in Trade Shows When, the creator of that group where we are housed at, and plus all of the other areas of social media. That's Todd and Mike, also the owner of Showbox Exhibits. Man, talk about
everybody.
Man on the go. You actually are breathing in your office today. That's a change for this week, right?
First time I've seen these walls in 2 weeks, at least.
That's crazy. And you know, that's been indicative of our show cadences that have been going across. We've just been busy as heck. I know the rest of the year I'm that way as well. And it's not even trade shows. It's actual client visits and corporate visits and everything else coming up. I will start with this. Off mic, we were just chatting about this a second ago. We're excited here at WS. We hired on a brand new Southeast Regional Sales Manager by the name of Nick Prather. He starts on Monday, and I had lunch with him today to also go buy his laptop so he could onboard and get him going for a Monday start. But after that was over with, I was driving home through the Metro Northwest Atlanta area where I live, and I drove through a few business parks. And I noticed this, Todd. I noticed that, and this is no exaggeration, man. I bet you 70 to 80% of the buildings that I saw were vacant. There were signs up looking for tenants, looking for leases. It was kind of shocking. You know, we saw this in COVID, 4 years ago. On the decline there over a 3 and 4 year period, but I haven't seen that in some kind of while. And my question is, in your travels around Houston and the areas, are you seeing the same thing there, or is this just an anomaly here in the Atlanta area?
No, I don't think so. I think the general trend over the past couple of years has been return to work, return to the office. RTO is what they call it, right?
Rent to own.
Or is that rent to? Yeah, no, I know several people who have been forced back to the office, and that seems to be a trend. I don't know if Atlanta is its own little bubble or not, but more people in the offices for sure.
And I don't see it ever. And maybe I wasn't taking notice, and this was just an anomaly in this particular business park, which is a lot of Amazon, a lot of the white collar type of things, the professional, I don't know, doctors and those type lawyers, maybe, I don't know, but it was just odd to me that particular business park, and it's not like new buildings. These things have been around since I've been here since 1995 when I first moved here in Kennesaw, Georgia. It was old buildings, and maybe that had something to do with it. But as far as more I hear about RTO, as you mentioned, the return to office, I just thought that was very interesting that I noticed that. And for me, as old as I am, to notice things like that, it's a miracle in itself. But let's continue. Top of the storyline this week, GES right at the top there. As we saw, they are now going to be privately owned. They're being acquired. It hasn't gone through yet. It should be done by the end of the year, according to the news releases. But an organization known as TrueLink Capital, private equity firm, and a $535 million deal. Currently, GES's parent company, Viad Corporation, has agreed to sell to go from public traded stock to now privately owned. Now, that's not unheard of, as we know. We see this a lot. And I guess the word that comes to mind in this case for GES Exhibition, Spiro, On Peak, Showtech, and Visit, those are the main companies in the GES family. EBITDA comes to mind. And, everything is about timing, right? And if your trend is up, that's when the private equity comes in and starts knocking on your door. Here's my only concern. I've talked to many people about this. I talked to someone, a competitor of GES earlier this week, to get their input on that. Undisclosed person. It was just interesting to have that conversation. But that's the thing. When the numbers are up, that's when private equity tends to come in. I think the concern, Todd, at least from what I hear, is when you get private equity involved, especially in our industry, that's a little different than maybe others. You tend to lose that focus on what we're all about within trade shows, live events, experiential marketing. That's what I hear. But I guess the verdict is still out, and it'll be yet to be seen how it goes. But GES moves from public to private. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, it just doesn't ever seem to be good when something like this happens in our industry. I can name more companies that have been destroyed by private equity than I have heard of companies that have thrived. I mean, it just doesn't seem smart in this world of our trade shows, right? Because they just don't. They're not getting something. They're just counting numbers. They're just looking at spreadsheets, when this business is really more about relationships and how those relationships weather storms, and how it's just not always about bottom line in this industry. So I don't think it's necessarily a good thing.
I cannot argue with you on that. That is the concern. We're a very customer relation type of oriented business. We go face to face. A lot of my regional sales managers, we have this talk about, you got X amount of percentage of required face to face with these people, because there's so much of, everything's online. It's very impersonal, and we're very, there's art involved, there's design involved, there's looks and aesthetics and all of these things. When they're combined, and you lose that touch, to me, you're exactly right. I agree with you 150%. The jury will still be out to see where this goes, but I think that is the concern. But then again, $530+ million, pictures of dead presidents speak, right?
Someone did very well. Good for them. No hate, but man, I'm just not going to enjoy working with GES. I don't even enjoy working with them now at the moment.
I cannot argue with that at all. We're going to shift gears, though, and go a different direction. This one involves a show that just happened earlier this month in Detroit. It was no big secret. If you go to You Work in Trade Shows When, and you go down the list of the comments that were happening back in mid-October about the closing specifically of that show, but maybe there was some other things as well. You were a part of that, so I'm going to turn that mic over to you and let you tell us what the heck happened in Detroit at the Battery Show.
Yeah, there was two major issues. The first issue was that they did not have enough electricians, and from digging into that, I found out that I believe there's a company called Conti who had the contract, at the venue. Freeman came in and got the contract from them, but then there was a dispute on which electricians were going to stay, where their alliances were, and they lost quite a bit when they made the move. And so Freeman didn't have enough electricians to handle all of the work. So at one point, the exhibitors were laying their own cords, laying their own power just to get their booths started. So that was a nightmare. That was a nightmare. It delayed us a day on getting our booths done. The second problem was on the way out. We had a truck waiting there for 26 hours.
Oh my.
26 hours. And they forced the freight. We were able to get one booth. The other two are in thin air right now. We have no idea where they are. Trying to track them down. So not really sure what the drayage issue is. Could be lack of Teamsters. Who knows? But that venue's got some things to figure out, because that was a nightmare. Plus the industry that it was, battery, who knows where that industry is going.
Well, that's exactly where I was going to go, because my research, me not being there, if you type in battery show issues, problems, and concerns, okay, in your Google, Siri, whatever your search engine is, everything circles back to elections. Okay. Let's face it. It's, there's a strong probability. I'll say possibility. I don't know about probability at this point. Verdict, the jury's still out, but there's a concern that, especially in the battery world, the EV world specifically, that should Trump go in as president, we know what's going to happen. The mandate will be erased. It'll be gone as far as the electric vehicle. That's politics. We know how it plays out. So there, you're now impacting an entire industry within the industry for electric vehicle batteries. So that industry is kind of probably sitting on pins and needles right now as it is. What you did not need is multi mess ups at the trade show, which promoted the record-breaking, by the way, attendance for the battery show, according to what they're reporting. Very positive show from a show perspective, but yet you got all of this backstage garbage. We'll call it that. That's happening. That's a bit of a problem, and that throws a good. The Huntington place that's where it happened. I'm sure at that convention hall. That's a good facility. There's good people there. It's just sad that they had to deal with such an issue of that. It sounds like, to me, you're exactly. I mean, it must be a union issue, a labor number of people issue. If you couldn't, I was going to mention this too. I remember back in 2019, we were in Dallas, Texas for Printing United at the Kay Bailey Hutchison Convention Center. I'm sure you know that place well. Mm-hmm. I was almost shot there. I can't go into that story right now. Maybe on a sidebar, I'll tell you about it. Road rage. Guy drove by, pointed a 9mm at me as I was, that fork right there, it splits off.
Oh, wow.
I was fortunate. A concrete wall separated us. But nonetheless, once I got past that and we got into the convention center, Printing United, which was a Shepherd show, had a problem with not enough electricians. And we had the same issue. They had to go out on the street and find people and go begging and borrowing and stealing people to come in and do electrical work. They were just hiring at the gate. It's like, if you know electricity, come in. We got to have you. So that is a very uncomfortable situation to be in when you don't have not only enough workers in the general realm, but specifically certified electricians who are in there doing the work.
There's some irony there, right? Not enough electricians for a battery show.
Yeah. There's always that. He'll be here all week, folks. Tip your waitress. Tip your wait staff. You're exactly right.
I don't think there's the mandate. If the mandate goes away, EVs aren't going away. There's still going to be a viable form of transportation, but they just can't be the only form of transportation right now. They just can't. There's no infrastructure anywhere close to be able to support every car being electric. So it's really not that big of a deal. I doubt the EV industry is freaking out. They're going to continue with their technology. They're going to continue with their research, but Combustion engines are not going to be gone for any time soon.
I think let's just address it. If Trump's elected, I don't think it will be such a sledgehammer effect that it's just going to knock it completely out. It may put a dent into it, a small one, but you're right. There's too much vested into this point for it to go away. It'll be a premier type of item. I want an electric car. I want an electric truck, whatever it is. And I've got an electric lawnmower outside. That's what my budget allows me to have. A little Ryobi. And I love the thing, man. It's great. There's no fumes. There's no gas.
Yeah,
it's great.
They have their place for sure. But I know so many people that have an electric car that, let's say, live in an apartment complex, and there might be 2 chargers in the complex. Well, other people park there who don't need to be charging. They wake up in the morning, they can't drive the car, so they're taking Uber. So it's really defeating the purpose, I think, until the infrastructure comes into play.
It's when you say, though, by 2030 or whatever the year was, you've got to maintain. I'm like, come on, now you're being ridiculous.
Yeah,
and it's just that's somewhere between there and there. We got to find a spot in the middle that makes sense, right? And we've been saying that the entire time. Interesting news, though, coming from Detroit. Tell you what, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have more Freeman information regarding a study that was just released by them about where the boomers are these days.
Freeman studying?
Oh, wow. I did not say that, guys. Remember that. I did not
suggest some things that they could study up on.
I did not say that, but that's why our trade show's Unhinged, because you never know what's going to come out of here. Freeman has a study out. We'll talk about it after the break. And then a term you may not have heard of called, what was it again? It was called, it was so shocking. It threw me off. It's called lice. It's travel lice. It's not travel lice. What's it
Terminal
called?
Lice?
Gate lice.
Gate
lice. That's what we're going to talk about when we come back after this. From light boxes, towers, counters, and back walls to turnkey custom exhibits, WS Display is your partner in providing quality displays at extremely aggressive pricing to fit any reseller's budget. Make more profit by teaming up with WS. With a team of experts to assist with estimates, renderings, and CAD, to fulfillment, setup, and test fitting, quality photo proofs, and complete project handling from our East Coast, West Coast, and Pacific fulfillment facilities. We can be your partner today. Hit me up at mike@wsdisplay.com for more information. Welcome back to Trade Shows Unhinged. Sorry about that. Sometimes you just lose your place in the notes and you can't find it. And I was like, terminal lice? Is that lice that kills you? Or is that travel lice that follows in your bag? I'm not quite sure. We'll talk about that one in just a second. Before we do, let's talk about this study that just came out earlier this month from Freeman, who points out that they've released its Freeman Trends Report, Event Organizer Trends of 2024, Fall of. It analyzes how macro trends are shaping the future of events. Kind of important. Gen Z has officially overtaken boomers in the workforce. And within the next 5 years, millennials and Gen Z combined will represent 75% of the overall workforce. So that being said, Todd, I'm not sure it's a good or a bad thing. The bottom line is it's just a thing, right? We're all getting old.
Where do I fit in? Where does Gen X fit in?
Gen X is not mentioned.
Less than 30% of the workforce is Gen X?
I think you're the other 2.5% that's somewhere in the denominator.
We have figured out how to retire early.
See there, I can't argue with that. I read a lot of stories about that. I want to know that secret. I keep watching those Facebook memes, and I haven't figured out how to get rich quick yet.
Once you find out, let me know.
Yeah, I'm not there. I'm having to go pawn some stuff and sell things, and family members and body parts in order to pay the bill. So there's that. Yeah, it's happening. We know that the culture's changing already. It is. I just hired on one today, bringing on my Southeast guy. All 2 out of my 3 guys are in that category. One of them is a boomer like me. And the 2 of us will probably ease out of here and check out and go stage left here shortly. I think I've got it about 3 years, between now and 3 years, depending on when my body says, okay, your clock's punched and you're done. But on paper, it's 3 years. And God knows we can't trust paper for anything. Probably trust batteries more than paper. So there's that. Not sure. Let's wrap up with this one. You and I travel, as we know. We fly a lot. And I saw this, and it's always been a problem. Usually, though, it's ignorance. I mean, people who don't fly a lot, they say, okay, now we're going to start boarding, and they race up to the gate, right? And they kind of hover there like it's a Taylor Swift concert or something
right,
like
rush
that.
the stage.
Let's go rush the stage, or a monster rock concert or whatever. So anyway, American Airlines is now testing a new system aimed at preventing passengers from boarding their flight before their group is called. Unlike Southwest, who they're changing their ways here the first of the year. I believe they're going to assigned seating, which means they'll probably go to a group boarding. Wow. Delta, United, everybody else, and now American. The American's been doing this a while. Board by group, right? So travelers are running up there and trying to get on too soon, I guess, and we all know why. Frequent travelers are trying to get that overhead compartment so they can carry their roll on and get it on without having it checked, and then it takes another 15 minutes or more or longer to get their bag. So anyway, travelers who try to skip the line will trigger an audible beep and be asked to return to their assigned group. So an embarrassing type of thing for the person who tries to rush up there and break the rules. It is currently being tested in Albuquerque, Tucson, and Washington, D.C. And so far, it is aimed at tackling gate lice. That's what they're called, gate lice, and streamlining the boarding process. First of all, what do you think about that term, gate lice?
They're not winning any new customers. Yeah, that's pretty funny because some airlines have the loyalty program. American is having the disloyalty program, apparently, calling everybody lice.
Gate lice. Wow. What would be funny as crap? Okay, let's just say you scan the, and it's still, and all of a sudden it goes gate lice.
Yes.
It announces it over. Get back in line.
Stop lice. Cutting.
Woo, woo, woo! So it blows up the siren.
You should be arrested.
There's a special place in hell for that. I don't know. That's a bit much. I get it. Maybe if it goes, twice, and you go, I'm sorry, there's obviously some mistake. You can't read. You're group 7. We're in group 2. Get your.
You have a comprehension problem. You must go to the back of the line.
Okay, GED. Let's go to the back of the line. Oh, that's hilarious. So anyway, they're implementing that, and they also, the last line of the articles, American Airlines raised its earning guidance for 2024 after posting a net loss for the third quarter. I wonder why they
too many lice.
Too many lice trying to get on board. All right. Well, so that is our show for this week. I'm going to throw it up there on the screen where our email is there, tradeshowsunhinged@gmail.com. If you'd like to come on the show, talk to us a little bit about stories that you see out in the field. I will say this, we will end with one more topic. I had it on my list, and I hesitantly was going to punt, but this is our last show before the election. So that's it. I mean, this is it. Because in 2 weeks, we actually have the election on November the 5th. November the 8th, we do Todd and Mike, and then we come back on the 15th with the next Trade Shows Unhinged. So, it'll be very interesting to see where this thing goes. I will say this. I did see today, this is Friday the 25th, the Washington Post announced today, which is, we all know, a liberal-based newspaper in D.C., the Washington Post said, we are not endorsing either president. Announced today. So I think it's
today. The New York Post endorsed Trump.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
But wow. Now it's getting interesting. I don't care where you land on this scale and perspective.
Right.
I think many of us, from a business perspective, I think we see the writing on the wall. I think we know how it should play out. I don't know how it will play out. But at the end of the day, I will say this. I said this in last week's Don and Mike show. I'll be glad when it's over because I am sick and tired of screaming at the television.
Yeah.
These ads are killing me.
It's going to be fun, though. I cannot wait to talk about it after it's over.
After it's over, we'll come back and recap what happened. And
I tell you what.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Mike, no matter what, the next day after the election, we're still America. And we're still doing trade shows.
And the sun's going to shine.
At the end of the day, it's just another day.
And the freight's going to show up late.
And the freight's going to be late.
From Trade Shows Unhinged.